Are you guys excited? I'm very excited. So, to start up with, I'm hoping everybody is awake here because I'm about to take you on a journey to Africa. You ready? Yeah? All right. I was born and raised in Ethiopia, an East African nation that has been synonymous to words such as poverty, hunger, starvation, skinny kids. My continent has been broadcasted by multiple, various Western media for all its catastrophic events. It's always about the social, economic, and political problems that we face. It's always about dictatorship, always about poverty, always about AIDS, always about malaria. It's always about the civil, tribal wars, and the list goes on, corruption. But today, now I admit these problems do exist in the continent, but today, I'm not here to talk about the problems, nor am I here to discuss the safari, the beautiful landscape, or the vibrant culture we have. Today, it's about Africa, the next chapter, the emerging market, the light of hope that has been shining through this continent, the economic progresses that has been seen in this continent, and most importantly, the various profitable business opportunities there are for foreign investors such as yourself. So before I start going in depth and explaining about the economic trends, I want to tell you two of my personal stories where I've witnessed these changes. Oh, that's my slide 4. 6 years ago, my family and I got an opportunity to travel to West African nation, Liberia, because my mom was working there for a German nonprofit. The nation was getting out of a 14 years devastating civil war. But it was an exciting moment for me to be there because I not only saw the Liberians endure through one of the most bloodiest civil wars, but I saw them filled with hope coming together to change their history and to rebuild their nation. And that summer, I was closely paying attention to the media and the campaigning process that was taking place for the first democratic election that was going to take place in January. And later, after I went back to Ethiopia in January, it was announced that President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has won the election, being the first African woman president in Africa and among the few in the world. Now, this is an extraordinary event, where in a continent, most of political decisions are based on tribe, ethnicity, and gender. To see her be chosen because of her merit, credentials, because of her experience working in the United Nations, World Bank, and a Minister of Finance gives hope to think bigger for Africans, young Africans like myself. Another change that I've witnessed in my country 4 years ago before I came here to attend college, so owning a cell phone communicated a status, an ability to afford a device that helped you communicate conveniently, effectively, which we all know is a very key aspect of development. Now, when I went back last year, the story has changed. It has changed because almost everybody I saw, regardless of their social class, owned it. And the story where I've witnessed this is right by my house, waiting for a public transportation or taxi to come by. I used to get my shoe polished by these young, entrepreneurial, spirited kids that come from a low-income households, but they work diligently to change their lives. And so I was puzzled by how they're able to finance it, considering the low income they make. And I asked them. And what they said is that they communicate among each other, basically in this unofficial industry of shoe shining, and they also have this side shop where they sell gums and candies and prepaid calling cards, I guess diversifying their portfolio. They communicate among each other so one person at a time can go make the run to get their supplies. So they don't all have to go spend the whole day getting supplies, and they can buy it in bulk and leverage on the cost saving that occurs on transportation cost, as well as to help them operate effectively. Folks, I mean, these are classical concepts I've been learning in my supply chain classes, but these kids with no educational background are using technology to progress, to change their life. Change is in the air of the continent. Also, in Kenya, my neighboring country, a company, Safaricom, has come up with a technology they built where basically with few clicks on the cell phone, you can transfer money from one part of the nation to the other in seconds. Change is in the air. So now, let me divert into discussing the macroeconomic change that's happening in this continent and why I think this continent needs to be the next destination for foreign investors. And I want to start off by a quote Kofi Annan, the former UN secretary, said, "Africa's profitability is one of the best kept secrets in the world." And so today, I'm going to uncover that and hopefully motivate you to act, to invest today, right now. Let's start up with collective GDP. It's expected to rise from 1.6 to 2.6 from 2008 to 2020. Now, it's not about what the number is, but the growth, it's growing. Africa regionally is right now the #1 region that's the fastest growing in the world. Last January edition of The Economist mentioned that 6 out of the 10 most growing nations in the world are African countries. Angola is leading the chart with an 11.1% growth rate. This is an opportunity. Combined consumer spending. Africans are expected, their consumer spending, cumulative consumer spending is expected to grow from 860 billion to 1.4 trillion from 2008 to 2020. And 128 million households are expected to have discretionary income to spend by 2020. This is an opportunity that's witnessing that we're not only ready to be the next destination of production in the most effective, low-cost way, but also as an emerging market, consumers. This is an opportunity. And in my opinion, Africa's geographical location being in the center among the whole world gives us a privilege, and it should be something Western investors should be taking advantage of. Here's my theory. And US companies that are planning to discontinue their products because of product maturity in the life cycle of a product, as well as the growing labor force and production costs in India and China, the price volatility of oil causing transportation costs to be high. If they move to Africa, can I have my slide? If they move their production to Africa, they're not only able to produce in low cost, but also tap into potential markets in Middle East, in Europe, in Asia, and also Africa itself. And this, I'm sure of, can add into their bottom line. This is opportunity people are ignoring. Africa's population, one of the biggest resources that can be leveraged on. 1 billion people, with Nigeria, 158 million, being the first populous nation. My country, Ethiopia, 85 million. Egypt, 84.5 million. This is something you can take advantage of. And it's not only about the population, but most of these African nations speak English because of colonization and other European languages. This makes the whole global workforce even effective to work. This is an opportunity. By 2020, 4 specific industries, infrastructure, resources, agriculture, and consumer, is expected to grow to generate a revenue of 2.6 trillion. What are we doing? This is an opportunity. The construction, housing, telecommunication markets in Africa are booming. Egypt and Ghana's stock markets have been ranked among the top in the world for consecutive years now. These are opportunities. Opportunities that we need to take advantage of now, because other nations such as China and India have already realized it, moved to work with African governments and African entrepreneurs on a large global scale projects. We need to move today. We need to capture this opportunity right now. Let's think about it. So before going into foreign investment is not a new thing to Africa. It's been going on. But to give you a historical preview, most of the time, companies that come to Africa have been focusing only in one industry, the natural resources, extracting many minerals and the various natural resources that we've been blessed with. But these companies have also been operating carelessly, not caring about their people, their environment. And so here's a classic example. In Nigeria, an oil spill has been ongoing for 50 years. You can only imagine what the people have to go through. And so my mission as an African that's visionary, that wants to see my continent rise stronger, is to not only have investors that come and leverage on this opportunity for profits. I want investors that support the economical progressive change that's happening in Africa. I want to see investors that have good cause, good heart, that can come to our continent and teach our people the dynamic business principles. I want to see investors that come to Africa that can compensate their employees very well so they can educate their kids, change lives. I want investors that care about the planet, because it's a very volatile world we live in. It's very beautiful, but we take it for granted. And so this classic model, being called the triple bottom line, those investors are what I envision my continent to have, what I want to have. And together, partnering, benefiting mutually, I know we can make history happen. Thanks for listening.